Howdy folks, and welcome to Real Spaghetti. Today we're going to discuss 90s westerns. Not the best 90s westerns, just good 90s westerns. Two of them we decided. And then we decided also to throw in two bad 90s westerns. Ones that weren't so good. So I'm going to start off this time with my choice for a good western from the 90s. Again, not the best. Most people would probably say Unforgiven was the best western.
Well, some would say that.
Yeah.
I may disagree, but
yeah,
that's another conversation.
It's the only one that won Best Picture. So if Hollywood's deciding the best western, it would be Unforgiven. And yeah, it was a good western. Maybe not the best in our opinion. But it's still a good western. Anyway, here's my choice. My choice for not only a good western, but a really underrated one. Ravenous, 1999. Excellent movie, starring Robert Carlyle and Guy Pearce, and a cast of many, like Jeffrey Jones, David Arquette, Neil McDonough, John Spencer, and Stephen Spinelli. Saying his name right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Spinelli.
Stephen Spinelli. It's a unique western, not your standard western. It's not like shootouts in the street at the OK Corral or anything like that. There's no deserts like your most, like standard westerns. We had to make certain rules, like Back to the Future 3 would have been my first choice of best 90s westerns, only it's not really technically a western.
I don't really see it as a western.
They have to time travel to become a western, and it's not really a western. Like that Oblivion shit, or the Wild Wild West. Not really technically a western, I would say.
I mean, it takes place in that time period.
Yeah, there's no the technology. They're doing whatever the hell they want. Cowboys and Aliens, is that really a western? Does that fall in the category? It wouldn't be. I wouldn't choose it as the best anything. Really,
Sci-fi western.
Still, there's certain rules. Anyway, as long as it takes place in the 1800s, I guess it's considered a western. Pretty much, because there's no other western.
Well, it also
things
has
really
to
going on.
take place in the West.
Yeah, this movie takes place. Well, would that be considered the West? It takes place in the Sierra Nevadas. Is that technically
That's in the West side.
Yeah,
so yeah.
it's on the west side of the map. Huh? So yeah, it has to be out west. So it can't be in the north.
That'd be technically a northern, wouldn't it?
I know that's true. Because some movies.
But yeah, basically that time frame.
Yeah, what's the rules?
Era, the 1800s.
Are the rules of what a western is, really. Anyway, it focuses all around cannibalism and how by eating human flesh will actually make you stronger and even extend your lifespan. Guy Pearce plays a soldier during the Mexican-American War, who's reduced to serving at this outpost in the Sierra Nevadas. That's where he gets to meet all of the other outcasts who were sent to this outpost by the United States Army, who are basically sent here to man this outpost for the Army. Usually it means if you did something stupid or bad and they don't like you, they send you to this outpost to do dumb work. Like with David Arquette's character, who's perfectly cast, by the way. Anyway, one night a man is discovered outside. And after being nursed back to health, tells everyone the tale of how he escaped from a Donner Party-like group of settlers who had to resort to cannibalism after they ran out of food. And then a few members of the group started going crazy and killing one another because they liked the taste of flesh so much, because it was making them stronger, became addicted to it. So Robert Carlyle here escaped from that group so he wouldn't get eaten too. So anyway, the next day Robert Carlyle and the others set out on a trek to find these cannibals and see if any of them are even still alive. Only when they get there, they find out that the story that Robert Carlyle told them wasn't exactly accurate. Because he too has become a cannibal madman. And that's where the movie really gets good. Because now he's resorted to lowering people to their death just so he can eat them and become stronger and live forever, I guess. So basically they have a near superhuman cannibal man on their hands. And wow, what an intense film this is. Robert Carlyle definitely steals the show, even though there's a lot of good actors in this, with great performances. Neil McDonough, who doesn't make it too long into the movie, still a great performance. And of course, Guy Pearce, who's great in the few movies that he gets to be in, and then another underused actor. This was actually also the first time I ever saw Robert Carlyle, if I remember correctly. Prior to this movie, 1999, I can't remember. I never saw the full Monty until
There was that James Bond movie.
Was that
It was
before or
around
after?
maybe the same time.
Yeah, I mostly remember him from this. He's a great villain. Creepy as hell in a lot of things that he's in. He's a villain a lot, actually. He's one of those we always cast him as a villain type actor. And I definitely want to mention the soundtrack to this movie. This is an excellent score.
I do recall the soundtrack being very unique.
Yeah. It's something I owned for a while. I think I may have lost it over the years, but an awesome, awesome soundtrack.
It's like an off-putting guitar riff.
Yeah. It's memorable. Like that, especially the scene on the top of the mountain right when he's about to jump off. And it was also well directed by a director named Antonia Bird, who, after looking her up, died a few years ago actually. So the director of this movie sadly has passed on.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yes. So rest in peace, Antonia Bird. I believe I'm saying her name right. So yeah, it's not your standard Western, but it does take place in the 1800s in the West, so it's technically a Western, and I think it's really underrated. Most people probably don't even know what the hell this movie is. They might have heard of it, but they've never seen it.
And a lot of people who have seen it don't particularly appreciate it.
Yeah. It can be dark and
It is an acquired taste, I think.
It does feature cannibalism as its main plot line.
Yeah, there's a good amount of cannibalism.
Yeah, if you can't handle the cannibalism thing, you probably shouldn't watch this. But it's a great movie, and if I'm on my rating scale, I would give it a 5, right?
I think 5 is the most.
Of the 5 stars, I give it 4.5 stars. It's almost
pretty
a
high
perfect
praise.
Western. Yes, I love this movie.
Well, I also and thoroughly enjoyed this film. I thought it was both incredibly entertaining as well as extremely unique, not only in terms of the story, but also as well as the setting of the film. Like, you don't see a whole lot of films taking place in that particular time frame in the Sierra Nevada. I also really enjoyed the cast and how they did their performance. Particularly, as you had mentioned, Robert Carlyle. I think Robert Carlyle stole the show. Did a great job as Colonel Ives. The man pulled off very creepy. So yeah, I give it 3.5 stars. Really enjoyable.
So we
I
agree
agree.
on this one.
Good movie.
No fighting. We agree. One of these days we're going to be beating each other up and
Yeah,
totally disagree. on
right
this,
now
right?
I can't help it.
I don't
Ravenous
think-
is a
yeah.
pretty good flick.
I knew we'd agree on Ravenous, so if you haven't seen it, highly recommend it.
So for my good 90s Western film, I chose the extremely popular and perhaps, in my opinion, could be the greatest Western of the 1990s, the movie Tombstone.
Oh, hell yeah.
Don't any of you have the guts to play for blood?
I'm your huckleberry. That's just my game.
So Tombstone is the epic tale of Wyatt Earp and his family who travel to Tombstone, Arizona, where they set up shop and try to start a new life for themselves. For a while though, it's all pretty good, but his happiness is soon cut short when both him and his family are forced to contend with the evil Clanton gang and their associates, which eventually would come to a head at the famed gunfight at the OK Corral. And we all know what happens from there. And in my opinion, I think this has definitely got to be one of the top 5 greatest westerns of all time. Perfectly paced, well written, very well directed. A lot of people say that Kurt Russell was actually more of a director for this film than the
I heard
actual
that.
guy. Like, Kurt Russell was the man in charge, really.
It was never official. He
No,
probably would never
but-
come out and say it, but
No, he probably
I
didn't want to
believe
take credit, but I would believe it.
he at least helped out.
Yeah. And I think for the most part, this movie will mostly be remembered for Val Kilmer's performance as Doc
Of course, you have to
Holliday.
mention that.
But all in all, the movie
Show
does
stealer.
have a fantastic cast. I mean, there are so many actors in this movie who did a great
Oh,
job.
man.
But definitely Val Kilmer stole the show in this one.
Not Jason Priestley.
No,
Even though he
Jason
wasn't
Priestley
bad.
did a good job,
Yeah,
though.
I'm saying, he did a good job. He wasn't
I did
stealing the
appreciate
show,
Jason
though.
Priestley.
Everybody did a good job in this movie.
Even Lowell from Wings did a great job in this movie.
And Billy Bob Thornton.
Billy Bob Thornton was in it.
Mm-hmm.
Even Charlton Heston shows up.
Ah, brief cameo. It's been one of his last movies.
So yeah, definitely a great cast. Michael Bain did a great performance.
Yeah, that's
Definitely liked him.
part of the best part is their feud.
Yeah.
Val Kilmer's
The Val Kilmer Michael
Doc
Bain
Holliday,
feud was
Michael
definitely a
Bain.
highlight.
Johnny Ringhill.
I also loved Powers Booth. He was great.
Like over the top, like probably
Yeah.
nothing like it was in reality, but
No, not at
hilarious.
all. I'm sure it was very, very not.
Oh yeah. No, no, no. I don't think that really happened.
But
They were
I
joking.
think Tombstone is a perfect Western, and I give it 5 out of 5. So
5 out of 5.
that's what I give it.
Top Western.
Perfect Western, Tombstone.
I pretty much agree. Pretty much like the same reasons. Val Kilmer steals the show.
hmm
Even Powers Booth as an over-the-top bad guy, like I said. Like, I think in real gunfights, they're not laughing and joking the whole time like he
No,
was and shit,
but-
but it makes it hilarious and perfect.
He does add some entertainment to the movie, though.
And without those performances, it wouldn't be a unique Western at all.
Yeah.
It would just be another Western. But no. So I do agree, and almost give it to 5. Again, 4.5 on this one.
Still pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are very few people out there who wouldn't think Tombstone is one of the best. So,
Definitely one of the best. Can't disagree again. See, one of these days, I'm
I'll
gonna have
get
to
to one.
beat you to shit with this freaking gun just because we disagree on one. But
Well,
now we're gonna get to the shit ones.
oh boy.
2 bad ones.
And what's your bad one?
Well, first, we just said these out of the blue, too. I hadn't seen these movies. We had seen them, but it's been, like,
Yeah,
over
well,
a
one of them
decade.
I didn't actually see.
Yeah,
I just assumed it was going to be bad, and
yeah. Like, some of them, if I had seen it, it wouldn't have mattered. I've totally forgotten these movies. I just don't remember them being good. Maybe not necessarily the
Yeah.
worst ever, but
not really a whole lot of fondness
Yeah.
for these ones.
forgettable, dumb westerns that nobody gives a shit about.
Yeah.
So, my choice was Johnny Depp in that movie Dead Man, the black and white one. I think it might not be so much bad, but simply weird and forgettable, is what I would call it.
It was definitely weird.
Yeah, weird. And trying to figure out what the hell exactly is going on. It's suggestive, a lot of it.
A lot of metaphor, really.
Yeah. Like when I first saw this years ago, I forgot everything. When I watched it again, I was like, I don't remember any of this. Even though it had tons of good actors in it and great performances. Like, which is the best part of the movie, is the actors and their great performances. The movie's all about Johnny Depp's character running from the bounty put on his head by Robert Mitchum's character, who's like a rich tycoon guy who runs this steel mill in this town called Machine. Yeah, that's the name of the town. That Crispin Glover takes him to. And yes, he plays a weirdo. He plays a great weirdo. Not exactly what is sure what's going on there in his scene, but it's still funny. He plays a great weirdo. Like them shooting at the buffaloes and shit. What was that about?
Yeah, they're just target practicing.
Yeah, just gonna murder a bunch of buffaloes from the train, you know? A bunch of mountain men.
Hey, you need a hobby.
Yeah. I know why they're extinct now.
Yeah.
So anyway, he put this bounty on his head for killing his son, Gabriel Byrne. In self-defense, though, when he walked in on Johnny Depp having sex with his former girlfriend, or I don't think they were married,
No, maybe they were engaged.
they were an item.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a couple.
Yeah.
He caught his former love banging the Deppster.
Yeah. And he tried to kill
Depp.
Depp, but she jumped in front of it and got killed herself. But the bullet went through her and wounded Depp, stuck inside of him, so he wasn't totally dead, but he was definitely wounded bad.
Yeah.
And then pulled out his gun and shot like a couple of times before he actually shot and killed Gabriel Byrne. And then took off on a horse. Not just any horse, though. Robert Mitchum's Pinto.
Was it?
Yeah. He made a big deal about that. Robert Mitchum put the bounty out and says, bring him back, dead or alive, as long as his corpse is here, and my Pinto too, his horse.
Also stole a very spirited and valuable horse. I want him brought here to me. Alive or dead don't matter, though I reckon dead would be easier.
And that's when they bring in the 3 bounty hunters, played by Lance Henriksen. Is it Henriksen or Hendrickson?
I think it's Henriksen.
Henrik, there's no D. Okay.
Henrik, yeah.
Lance Henriksen, Michael Wincott, and this guy who plays the kid. I don't know who the hell he is, the actor.
I don't know.
Not really a big deal. He gets shot in the back of the head anyway. By crazy Lance Henriksen's character, who, again, he probably steals the show here because he has this memorable scene where after killing everybody, including Michael Wincott, is eating Michael Wincott's hand because, like in Ravenous, he's a cannibal too. And I thought they were joking because they mentioned it earlier in the movie, like he said with the parents.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he ate his parents.
But no, I guess Lance Henriksen was a cannibal in this movie.
Yeah. And Michael Wincott still trusted him.
I mean, he was creepy as shit in the first place.
Yeah,
So.
I would have been the hell out of there too. But they're all kind of degenerate pigs and assholes in this movie. Which is the one thing about this movie that I did notice is no decent human beings in it. Most of them are just degenerate pigs. Maybe some of those Indians were nice, but none of them talked enough.
I mean, Crispin Glover was probably the most decent person.
Yeah.
That wasn't even much
Yeah,
of
and
a
again,
role.
he was just driving the train.
Yeah.
What the fuck was his deal? They never showed him again.
But yeah, everybody was kind of a dink. Except for the Indian guy.
Yeah, the fat, pudgy Indian guy. He was probably the most likable, decent character. He was just like a fan of Johnny Depp's character.
Yeah.
And he was helping him out, carrying him across the West, trying to not get killed by all these bounty hunters trying to murder him. Another gross scene. You remember when Lance Henriksen steps in that guy's head?
Yeah.
Steps in a dead guy's head and just squishes like
oozes
a melon.
everywhere. I don't even know if that's realistic.
I know, is that
like
possible? Just step on somebody's head and squish it like a melon.
easily squish it like a rotten pumpkin.
That's disgusting. That scene with Billy Bob Thornton and Iggy Pop was kind of funny, actually. Iggy Pop in the dress.
Yeah.
And Billy Bob Thornton, like, all impressed with Johnny Depp's hair, comparing to his crappy hair. They all end up getting killed, though, because they're all also a bunch of degenerate pigs. No decent human beings in this. Even Johnny Depp. I guess he's...
Not even Johnny Depp, because he just turned into a cold-blooded killer.
Yeah, pretty much. He had no problem just shooting anybody.
Like cops.
Yeah.
Like he killed 2 cops, so...
Nobody's good except for maybe the Indian guy. But he was helping Johnny Depp do it, so...
But I'm not even sure if the Indian guy was real.
Yeah, that's the other thing. At the end of it, it's a...
He could have been like his
Dumping
guardian angel, but he's the one who killed Lance Henriksen too, so...
Yeah. My question about that was, what was Lance Henriksen's plan? He was going to bring his corpse back all the way from there?
Probably, yeah. Or at least his head.
Like, how was he planning on transport? Oh, his head would have been good enough.
Head would have been fine.
Yeah. And he got killed anyway. Everybody pretty much gets killed.
Everybody dies, yeah. It's one of those
Johnny
movies.
Depp sails off in a fucking boat out into the open sea.
And then dies.
And then, I guess, dies. But it's like, I was wondering if he was supposed to be dead the whole time, because I've read theories people thought he was in purgatory the entire movie. But
yeah, I never thought of it. I mean, the movie is definitely heavy with metaphors.
yeah, and artsy-fartsy film noir type
Yeah.
way of making it, filming it. Still, it wasn't a bad movie.
No.
It was confusing, particularly at the end with that, is he dead? Was he dead the whole time? Is this suggesting that he's dead? I don't know. Make up your own mind there. I'm going to go with the purgatory thing because that would explain why everyone in that universe is a piece of shit. Like, you never saw any regular people. Guy walking down the street, just doing his regular thing, family of kids, nothing. Just like shitheads the entire movie. Even the law was just pretty much not present. But since it wasn't a bad movie, I didn't totally shit on it, I give it like 2.5 stars in the end.
I guess that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, I personally thought this movie was kind of fucking boring. Basically, I saw it as a combination of First Blood and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah.
But it didn't really have the emotion of First Blood, and it didn't really have the charm and comedy of Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? So it was like a bad mishmash of just basically Johnny Depp just going on a series of clips through the woods while he's being hunted down by Lance Henriksen. I also noticed there's way too many close-ups in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Like, you don't really get to see what's going on in the outside world around the characters because there's always a big close-up on the guy's
Johnny
head.
Depp's face. You can see every hair in his mustache. It wasn't as bad as I remembered. In my mind, it was like.
Well, yeah, I do remember it being a lot worse back when I first saw it, but
Might have been the mindset I was in. I was like well over a decade ago that I probably
yeah,
saw that.
probably just didn't understand it as much. But obviously, the director was trying to go on some weird metaphorical journey.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Like he wanted to be on an odyssey or some sort.
Mm.
And I also thought it was just overly gory and gross for no reason whatsoever, too.
The head squishing scene, yes.
Yeah.
They don't seem
Like, it's not really supposed to be a horror movie,
Yeah.
but they add shit like that for no
gross
reason.
shit like that.
I gave it 1.5 stars.
1.5.
And that was mostly because of the cast, because it really did have a really good cast in that movie.
Yeah, and Lance Henriksen, even though he's playing
Lance
big
Henriksen,
piece
Michael
of shit,
Wincott,
Michael Wincott was
Crispin
probably the
Glover,
comic
Billy Bob
relief.
Thornton. I mean, yeah, I love the cast. It's just, to me, was not a particularly good film. But yeah, some might disagree.
Yeah. But if you did notice, it did have Robert Mitchum and Billy Bob Thornton, who were both
Also
also
in
in Tombstone, a far better Western. Yeah.
But yeah, I
Not great,
didn't particularly like it either.
but not horrible.
I mean, I've seen worse.
50-50 agree on this one. So move on to your bad one.
Well, for my subpar Western of the 1990s, I chose a movie that I've never seen before, but I just assumed that it wasn't a very good movie, and I was pretty much right. And that is the 1994 Western Bad Girls.
You touch her again, you're a dead man.
The good Lord saith, an eye for an eye, a life for a life.
Directed by Jonathan Kaplan, and it stars Madeline Stowe, Andy McDowell, Mary Stuart Masterson, and Drew Barrymore. And the story centers around Madeline Stowe's character, who's wanted a fugitive on the run with their former prostitute friends as they traverse their way to Oregon to start a new life, while making friends and enemies along the way. So I guess mostly this movie was slightly better than I thought it would be. I was expecting a real shitfest, but it did really have its moments. But for the most part, I also see it as kind of a ripoff of the Young Guns movies. Like, remember those? The stylized westerns with the hard rock soundtrack. So it had a kind of that feel to it. They were just trying to do that, but just didn't pull it off as well.
They did have Dermot Mulroney, though,
Well, that's something,
who
I
was
guess.
in Young Guns.
Yes, but
Closest.
I'm sure he'd rather be in Young Guns.
Yeah, he didn't.
I mean, it wasn't really boring, but it just not much of a plot going on. It was just 4 prostitute fugitives on the run from the law. I would describe this movie as a series of rescue missions. When you think about it, it starts off with Madeline Stowe being hung up by the town, and her friends have to rescue her from
Oh, that escape.
some big escape. So they stampede through town. They rescue Madeline Stowe. And then eventually Andy McDowell gets arrested and she's thrown in jail. So they have to go and rescue her. And then they rescue her. And then eventually Drew Barrymore gets kidnapped by James Russo. So they have to rescue her. And then eventually Dermot
He
Mulroney.
gets captured.
Dermot
He was
Mulroney
trying to
gets
rescue
captured.
her to make up
So we
for
gotta
killing
rescue
fucking
him.
Robert Loggia.
Yeah, so it was just one rescue attempt after another. Really bad action scenes. A lot of time it's just simple stunt work that's over exaggerated, like Drew Barrymore getting pushed to the ground, but it's all slow mo and like. They had one scene where they were ambushing James Russo's gang, and they were shooting out at everybody, and not one of the girls hit anybody. Like every shot they fired was a complete miss.
Like that.
Like none of these
Rescue
girls could
attempt.
shoot for shit.
The rescue attempt was just sort of on the whim. All they did was ride through town.
Yep.
She kicked somebody in the face and
She
rides
kicked
off.
somebody in
That
the face.
was
She was
plan.
already on the horse. I mean, they were just really half-ass action set pieces.
Did you notice the town though at the beginning?
No.
Back to the Future.
Was it the
3.
Back to the Future one?
Mhm.
That was a
Back
waste
to
of a
the
set.
Future 3 set, yeah. Being reused.
Basically, my favorite part would be James Russo's character. He's
I
the only
agree.
one who actually
Holy
tried to
shit.
make this
He's a
entertaining.
good villain.
He was very charming and fun, and he
If
knew
you
what he
notice,
had to do.
He laughed through like
Yeah.
every line he said.
Oh, really? Yeah, that makes sense. But no, I think he did a really good job.
Every time he said something, that's what he was doing during the line. He steals the show. That's like if you have a show stealer, it's James Russo. Definitely.
Yeah.
Underused actor again. fuck they don't use him more?
No.
He's too old now, I guess, but we can still.
But James Russo at least tried to add some entertainment to this movie. Andy McDowell eventually gets settled down with some guy,
Oh yeah.
starts a
You-
new life,
did
and
you
then the other
recognize
bad
that
girls
guy?
ride off into the sunset.
Yeah, I recognize that guy.
Can't
That's
remember
about
what
the
that
only
is.
thing I can remember about that story. Like, she fell in love with the farm guy, right? Andy McDowell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she lived with him, and then the rest of the bad girls moved off into the sunset.
He was Blade from Punky Brewster at Two Party.
Really?
Wherever I've seen this guy's face, I looked him up.
So all in all, I'd give it 2.5 stars. I mean, not the worst movie, but I like the cinematography. I like some of the creative camera work. They did some good shit with that. The landscape looked nice. But yeah, all in all, kind of a snooze fest.
Sort of generic is what my feeling was towards it. It was like just a generic Western, and their one thing that was making them possible to stick out was the fact that they had that all-female casting, which
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
most
that was
Westerns
pretty
do.
much their selling point, really.
Yeah, their selling point, but they didn't really.
That's why it was
use
called Bad Girls.
Yeah, I mean they were more believable as like strong female character. They were more believable than some of the newer ones
Yeah, yeah.
because like they could be good at sometimes they could kick ass like Madeline Stowe's character, but she's getting her ass kicked through the whole
Yeah,
movie
I
too,
mean-
and even raped. Like, if they could have just had a different storyline, I think the plot should have been different. Like remember that whole sawmill plan they were supposed to do?
Yeah.
They were trying to get. They should have just done that as their story because that would have been more interesting seeing
They
them.
never even reached the sawmill.
Yeah, it never even happened. I mean,
Never,
supposedly
there was no
gonna-
sawmill.
It
They're
ends
supposed to
with
buy a
that.
sawmill, they never did.
Yeah, I think it ended with the three of them riding off to do that, but that would have been a more interesting plot.
Yeah.
It's like four women trying to make a sawmill happen in
and
the old
shit.
west.
That would have been
trying to
better.
fight a bunch of Colonel Sanders asshole type fucking white guys.
Yeah.
Would have been a cooler movie, and then James Russo's character could still.
Oh,
be
you
in
could
it.
still show up.
Yeah,
You could be the
help him
asshole
out
of
even
it.
for a while, and then turns on him because he's a big dick.
Or just always be the big dick.
Mm.
He's like the competitor or something.
Yeah. And I noticed there was an actor in it who was in My Name Is Nobody.
Really?
Yeah, he was the one of the gang members who Drew Barrymore killed. Kept winking at her. As they were trying to leave.
that
That
guy, okay.
gross-looking pig guy.
I know the guy.
He's a stunt actor in real life. I think he might still be alive even. And he was in like RoboCop even, a brief cameo in all these big movies like that.
Well, that's neat.
That did have him. of
And you get to
course,
claim that he got
Blade.
killed by Drew Barrymore. Not many
Yeah.
people can claim that.
For being a pig. Sort of reminded me of that Val Kilmer teasing the other guy there. Who was it? He teased to start the shootout at the OK Corral.
Yeah, that was Thomas Hayden Church.
Yeah, when he like
When he winked?
winked at him just to get the fight going.
Don't wink, kid.
Don't wink. But I did hear when I was reading about the movie that there was an original director. It was some lady, and they fired her and threw her whole script out and trashed everything that she filmed and hired that other guy that you mentioned, Jonathan
Okay.
Kaplan.
So
So I looked him up. He hadn't really done. All
maybe
she
they
had
only
done
had a
was-
limited time to write a script, and that's why it wasn't particularly that good.
Yeah.
Maybe it had a better script.
Yeah. Who
originally.
knows? Maybe it was better. But
Maybe
they
it was the whole
tossed it.
sawmill idea.
Yeah. That would have been cool.
But no.
They wanted a more generic Western
Yeah,
instead.
they wanted young guns, but with ladies.
Yeah. And yeah, it was still better than that Ghostbusters with all ladies. Yeah, again, it didn't turn out to be as bad as I thought this movie was going to be. I just thought, again, it was just a generic Western. And I actually agree with your stars. 2.5 you gave it?
Mm-hmm.
I did the same. 2.5 star movie.
2.5 stars.
It had potential and it didn't take it.
It's right in the middle. Yeah, that's basically what you can say. It's mid.
Yeah, it had that good cast, good acting. I mean, all the actors and actresses were
They
dependable.
were
usually.
fair. I mean,
Yeah.
They didn't really add a whole lot to the characters.
I think the weakest character was probably with her fucking Mary Stuart Masterson.
yeah, she was
character.
pretty weak. I mean, all in all, they didn't really have much personality.
Yeah, like I didn't like it when, what the hell is it? Dermot Mulroney's dying and she's reaching over to get her precious money for her
Yeah.
sawmill and shit. Like, he was actually a decent character to go back and help Drew Barrymore escape, only to get killed, shot in the back himself. His storyline had they explained it a little better with the whole, it's kind of like Death Rides a Horse storyline where his family was like killed by Robert Loggia and he's been tracking him forever. Only they don't really get.
He
they don't
finally
touch
gets a
on
hold
that
of
one,
Annalise, and
He does get
a
killed.
little subplot with Dermot Mulroney.
Yeah, which they didn't touch on a lot, so you didn't get
Yeah,
to
you didn't
truly
really get much out of that.
hate Robert Loggia as much as he did, which would have helped. But yeah, 2.5 stars. Not as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah, I was expecting worse. Not gonna lie.
And Blade from Punky Brewster,
There
who's
you go.
also the guy from Point Break who said, "See you in hell, Johnny Utah," and he threw his dying ass out of the plane guy. Same guy. Well, there you have it, folks. That's our best of, worst of 90s westerns that don't consist of the most, popular ones you would think of. Like, I guess Dances with Wolves is considered.
Yeah, Dances with Wolves
too.
definitely a western.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the better westerns.
Also won Best Picture, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, not what I would consider the best western, though. We already just discussed that. Ravenous and
Tombstone,
best westerns of the 90s. In our opinion, of course.
as well as Bad Girls,
Bad Girls and Dead Man
as
being
most
not
likely
as
the
bad,
worst.
but some of the
I'm sure there may be worse westerns of the
Yeah.
90s, but they were pretty low.
it's no worse than Quigley Down Under or Far and Away wasn't bad. That's also considered a western to some people.
Yeah, well, that was pretty
Tom
decent.
Cruise
movie.
one. Get an honorable mention anyway. But I guess that'll do it for now. So until next time, folks, get the hell out of my theater.
I don't want to. I
All
like
right.
it here. It's comfy.
Okay. Gun's not really loaded anyway. Good night, everybody.
It was loaded.
Uh-oh.
You just got that guy.
He worked here.
He's not moving. I'm leaving.
I knew that would get him to go. I kill somebody and they always run off. Not everybody. We're gonna run from the law now. I'm a wanted man.